Welcome to the Salt Strong Fishing Podcast. Salt Strong has been helping saltwater anglers catch more fish in less time for 10 years and is now the largest and most trusted saltwater fishing community in America. If you want to catch more saltwater fish, then keep listening. If you want to speed up your fish catching results even faster, then join the private insider community at saltstrong.com. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Billionaire Christians. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again. Salt Strong Unchurched. Sorry, I'm talking a bit quiet. The kids are still asleep right now. And I'm back on my book reading tour, if you will. I go through these little phases where I'll just read like crazy, where I'm reading sometimes an hour and a half a day, and even more on the weekends, and you can knock out a book every week, like I did for 5 years that way. And then sometimes I'll go for a while without reading much, sometimes even 3 weeks with, maybe listen a little bit audible, but not actually picking up a real book. I love picking up a real book. Anyhow, the last 2 books that I just kind of plowed through were Sam Walton, Made in America. I'd read that way long ago, and I wanted to read it again. It was a great book. Just so many lessons about perseverance and faith. He was one of the 2 billionaires I want to talk about who were very, very devout Christians. I mean, he literally wouldn't miss a Sunday church, even if he was traveling. Just one of those guys that was just no exception. He went to church every single Sunday, many times twice on Sundays. And the other one was Rich DeVos. Apologize, Rich. I know he passed away now, but Rich is the founder of Amway. And I had read one of his books in the past, had, I would say, a profound impact on me. He was one of the first people who I read about that was a, not just billionaire, but multi-billionaire. If you don't know, like Amway, obviously a huge company, but he also founded the Magic. He was the first owner of Orlando Magic. I think he paid like $91 million for the Magic, which back then was a ton of money. Now it's worth whatever, $3.5–4 billion. Pretty good investment, I would say, for your family to spend $91 million and have it worth $3–4 billion in a couple decades. But anyhow, another one, just I'm talking about like devout Christian. It was wild, and I think what the impact it had on me was that, hey, you can still be Christian and run a company and be wealthy and be giving and loving and legitimately be a Christian. There's a lot of people that maybe do have a lot of wealth that say they're Christian, maybe even, go to church, maybe even tithe, but just aren't great people. And, reading now 2 different books on Rich, and it is maybe impossible to find someone that didn't like this guy and didn't say he was just the salt of the earth. I mean, it was the point. I'm going to read this card. So he would take this card around with him. This is a billionaire, right? Imagine meeting this guy and he would just go talk to anybody. I think that's what everyone loved about him. He was just open. Sam Walton, kind of the same way, just friendly, and would go up there and talk and wanted to know about you. And he would have this card and he would hand it to people, regardless of where he was, airport, etc. And it says, "Excuse me, but could I ask you a question? I hope it won't offend you, but if you were to die today, do you know where you would spend eternity? The Bible says it will either be in heaven or it will be in hell. Would you think about that, please? Thank you, and God bless you. Love, Rich." And he would even sign his handwritten cards like that to everyone. And, people still have cards, handwritten cards framed that Rich DeVos sent them, and always ended it with, love Rich, or love you, Rich. Just a fantastic person. So I wanted to talk a little bit about each of them. They each had kind of some different things that I guess I took away. The one with Rich in particular is just how to succeed in life with integrity and always putting God first. He was just a big giver. He wanted to help. He wanted to lift people up. I think and I'm not going to say for everyone, but I think in general, a lot of people look at extreme capitalism, because that's what you could call it. Someone who can make $1 billion. It's on the very, very far end of what you can do with capitalism. They look at that as, oh, you only got there because you stepped on so many people, right? And Rich's proof, he's like, no, I made so many millionaires. I mean, obviously Amway was, like kind of a multi-level marketing thing. And he lifted up so many people, created so many millionaires and multimillionaires, and made a massive impact. And personally, I have no problem with multi-level marketing. It's awesome. If you're impacting people and the product's good, who cares what the business model is? I think the only reason multi-level marketing got any bad name was just because there were some bad ones out there that had bad products and was only about making money. Amway obviously started with really, really good products. And before that, it was Nutrilite that he was with. Two other kind of side things on just perseverance. So Rich and his partner Jay they were with Nutrilite, which was kind of like a precursor to Amway. Wanted to do some different things and kind of experiment and try like new business models, and they said no, and so they went and started their own thing, which is Amway, and became billionaires. Same thing happened with old Mr. Walmart himself. He was with the Benjamin Franklin Five and Dimes. He was a franchisee, and that's all he wanted. He wanted to be a franchisee. He was the biggest franchisee and was doing well, meaning he probably would have been, let's just say, a multimillionaire after it was all said and done, and went to them and said, hey guys, I really want to try this. I want to kind of be more of a bigger discounter. And they flat out said no. They're like, no, you're going to follow our rules or you can leave. And he left and started Walmart, and obviously put them out of business. Who's ever heard of Benjamin Franklin 5 and 9 these days? And who's heard of Walmart? Everyone. So really wild story about people that just had a big dream and had faith. I mean, both of them said, without the faith, I mean, there was prayers. I mean, can you imagine being like the biggest McDonald's franchisee? I mean, this is a big deal. He was doing very, very well. Like I said, a multimillionaire. That's successful in anyone's eyes, money wise. He was their biggest franchisee in the country. And to walk away from that and maybe even get sued and attacked by them to go start your own company. I mean, the amount of faith, and same with Rich, for them to leave a company that they had essentially a multi-level marketing, they built up a massive group underneath them, to leave and start over from scratch. Wow, what a massive amount of faith. The other thing that I thought was interesting with both of them is their attitude. And it was the attitude around winning. And that's really one of the main mantras besides faith I want to get across here. I'll start with Mr. Sam Walton. He said in all his life, even starting when he was young, he just had this attitude and this belief of like this faith, if you will, that he was going to win. And he goes, I took that on the football field. He played football because I was, 3 different positions, quarterback and fullback. And he's like, they kind of put me everywhere. I wasn't that big, but I was fast and scrappy, and I just didn't give up. And he goes, I'm proud to say in my 3 years as a starter from sophomore, junior, and senior, he never was part of a losing game, never lost ever. They actually won the state championship two out of the 3 times. I believe the time they didn't, when there was a losing game, he was actually hurt. So he's like, my team did lose, but I was not in it. He's like, I've literally never been part of losing game. And he's like, I looked at everything that way. Every time I went into anything, I just went in with this mindset that it's impossible to lose. And there were times that he did lose. I mean, he lost literally everything he had, and a couple different occasions where they were on borrowed money. But even then, he still had this attitude, this belief, if you will, that he had won, that, man, this is going to pay for itself big time. Like, for instance, one of them was a lease. He was crushing it in this one of the Benjamin Franklin 5 and Dimes. And, he had signed this 5-year lease, but didn't think about having anything in writing about what would happen after 5 years. And the landlord saw how big he was getting, and he knew there was no other place in town for him. So essentially, he said, "Hey, you're not going to be able to renew it this rate." He's like, "All right, well, how much are you going to raise it?" And He's like, I'm not going to even give you the chance to bid on it. And then Sam's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's not even double, triple, quadruple. He's I'm now that I know you can't go anywhere else, I'm going to compete against you and bring in essentially a competitor here that this landlord's going to own part of. So kicked him out of his own store. Can you imagine having like the most successful, kind of a discount store, like a precursor to Walmart in your whole city, right? This is back in the day when there weren't tons of choices. And the landlord realizes that you are the only thing in town. There's no other building that could even hold you in town, and basically hold you hostage, kicked him out of his own. So he literally had to leave town. He literally had to go find a whole new city, start over fresh, lost it all. And once again, just had that faith and that winning attitude. He's like, you know what? I know this is going to pay for itself tenfold in the future, because he learned a lesson about lease agreements and just agreements in general. He's like, after that, I read every single word, and I always prepared for, the worst in a contract. And he's like, that at the time, that was all their savings. But he's like, man, that's paid for itself so many times over, and all the negotiations and contracts that he's done in the future. So anyhow, I wanted to share these two with you, the power of that faith and that attitude of glass half full, not half empty. So many of us, if we just did those two things, right? And Rich, I'll pivot to a story about him. He was super, super Christian, not like religious, but just he loved God. And he's like, he's like, Amway, our businesses aren't Christian. He's like, how can they be? He's like, Christianity is a relationship with Jesus. And I love that. He's like, yeah, our business is run by Christians. We consider ourselves Christians, but he's like, a business can't be Christian. How can it be? Business is just entities, people. It's the people inside of it who have a relationship with Jesus. They could be Christian. And he was just so unashamed to talk about it. And then anytime someone got into a really deep discussion, he'd just go back to that faith. He's like, if you could see and feel and touch every single thing about God and Jesus, you wouldn't need any faith, right? I mean, that's what faith is all about, is believing, wholeheartedly believing is something that you don't completely understand and is sometimes unseen. And I think that's what holds so many people back from being a Christian or believing, is they just have to have this scientific proof. And his point was, if that was the case, I mean, reading the Bible there, even when Jesus was literally walking the earth and was performing miracles, the majority of people still didn't believe in him. And they didn't even take faith back to him, or much faith. They would literally watch. Can you imagine seeing Jesus on the streets performing a miracle, like literally giving someone their vision back, right? And still not believing? Like, that's pretty scientific evidence proof. And still people didn't do it. So there's always going to be this ounce or gallons or just endless amounts of faith that will have to happen. It always has been, even in the days when he was literally alive in the human form, walking the streets and performing miracles. So just keep that in mind. And the final part is, there are really wealthy people and powerful people that are really good, deep down Christians. I mean, both of these books, and let me tell you the books. The one is the Made in America, Sam Walton. The other one is How to Be Like Rich DeVos, and Pat Williams, who was one of the, the original GM, general manager of the Orlando Magic, and essentially reported up to Rich and his family who owned the Magic, wrote this book. And he's like, man, everyone that ever worked for him, he's like, I'm writing a book about my boss. Who does that, right? He's like, it's because this guy had such an impact on me, literally changed my life, changed the way I looked at things. I think brought him to Christianity, et cetera. So just fascinating guy. And you get done with a book like that and you just like, man, I want to be like these people. And not because of the billionaire part, like in both of them, it rarely talked about money, and neither of them lived extravagantly. Both of them actually were kind of ashamed of it. Like Rich in particular, he loved sailing. That was something he did in fishing. He's their whole family, very avid outdoors people. And he even had like a boat that he and his partner, the one who started Amway, that they had actually shipwrecked when they were young. They were, wanted to do one of those wild trips in their 20s. And he loved sailing and loved boating and yachting, and was still embarrassed, even at a had $1 billion of net worth, to go buy like a nice boat, like something that we would consider like a nice center console. And he's like, I just don't know what people are going to think. And finally, one of his sons is like, Dad, you've literally earned this. You've given back to our, Grand Rapids, Michigan, where they lived. And everyone you meet, more than anyone, like, don't be ashamed that you worked your tail off to get this. And same with Sam Walton. If you've heard the Walton stories, I mean, they were still sleeping 2 people to a hotel room, and they were staying at Holiday Inns even when he was a billionaire. They were flying. The one thing he did, because he was a pilot, they did have a plane, but it was a used, cheap plane, comparatively speaking. They were both just very frugal and just love being generous and love talking about God and Jesus. So anyhow, know that there's great people like that. It's not what you sometimes might hear in the tabloids or on news, that all these rich capitalists are just bad, money hungry people. And there certainly are some. And that's not what this book is about, but there are some really, really awesome ones that I think we should study and even emulate, how they didn't let all that stuff get to their heads. So not saying that they're perfect, because they're not, and that none of us are. And that's part of being a Christian. But man, it was really, really refreshing to read both of those stories. So hope you guys like this one. I just wanted to share, because I just finished both of these books here recently. And I thought it was just great to share, because rarely do you hear about good billionaire Christians doing awesome things. So love you guys, and I will talk to you on the next episode.
Want more fishing tips, shortcuts, and tools so you can catch more fish per trip? Then head over to saltstrong.com now and join the movement. Tight lines, and thanks for listening.